Ladies and gentlemen, joining me this Sunday is singer, songwriter Vanessa Bright, who will be talking about her latest album, Moving On, which is raising funds for charity, and she'll be talking about her musical career.
Listen to your song, you play me your harmony, your melody, so I could then move on. I've risen up in my life.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are across the globe. Welcome to On the Sofa with yours truly, Esther Austin. Well, I'm going to be conversating. I like that word, conversating. Not you, Vanessa.
Yeah, great word.
Conversating with Vanessa Bright. This is a long time coming because I know she's been trying to get on the show for a long time. And last night she sent me something. I'm like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. So, welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you, Esther. How are you doing? You okay?
I'm good, busy, good, busy. I'm ready to take that next step, whatever that next step is. I'm always, I've got to learn to be patient, but also to keep expanding. To keep expanding into. So I'm good. Right, my dear, I always like to ask my guests, who is Vanessa in a nutshell, in a peanut shell, or a coconut shell? Who is Vanessa Bright?
I always find that a loaded question because there's a lot of aspects to me. So in a nutshell, peanut shell and coconut shell, I would say that I'm someone who's highly creative, and I'm probably going to be talking a lot about music in our interview, but there are other elements to me as well, and it all ties into creativity. So my brain rarely switches off from being creative. Because aside from music, I love dancing, I love baking, cooking, drawing, writing. So there's so many elements. But on top of that, I'm really into self-development as well. So, it's always about finding ways to be the best version of myself and then help others to do the same. So yeah, I'd say that's it. Yeah.
It's okay because, when you talked about being creative, that creative expansiveness is what feeds into everything that we do as well. So, share, this, even though this is, yes, it's predominantly a music platform, but then when you break it down, it then feeds into everything. So even when you're baking, I'm sure you can think of a song. Oh yeah, that would be good. So everything fits into this, this wonderful flow and amalgamation of creative process. So, go away, go away with whatever you want to say. And so, my dear, you've had a really eclectic year. I love that word. You've, like as you said, you're really creative. You did a bit of, I would say, not modeling in the conventional sense, but we're going to talk about that shortly. And also, one of your latest single, Move On, is going to. You're doing some work around charity with that. Proceeds from that particular track are going to charity. Am I right?
It's the album actually, and but there is a track on the album called Moving On as well. But yeah, it's the whole album that it was released in December, and so it's recently released. But yeah, the proceeds going to a charity that's really close to my heart, and I mean all the information's on my website, so I'll obviously tell people what that is later.
Yes, yeah. And how many tracks do you have on the album, and what inspired you to because you're a songwriter as well, like I've said, you're so many. So what inspired you to pen the album?
So there's 9 tracks on the album. There would have actually originally been 10, but I took one out, which is called Living in a Lockdown, because I thought people might not want to be reminded. So that track is now solo on its own. But yeah, and what inspired me, well, in all honesty, I never thought I'd be a songwriter. It's not like, quite a few musicians out there would say since the age of, I don't know how young they were, they did music, they had music in their family, they studied music, all that. For me, no, not at all. This came more recently, actually, when I hit 40. So it just goes to show it's never too late to start anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how's that journey been? Because like you said, you've got this album out now, and you know, proceeds from that go to charity. And I listened, I do like, there's a couple of tracks on there that I really sort of resonate. I do like Raise Your Hand. Also Keep Your Spirit High, because and also I think it was Leave Me, there's because they've got this real sort of smooth jazzy feel about it. And it, you know, when you listen to them, it makes you feel like you're either driving in the country, you know, the sunroof's down, the sun's on you, or you're in this really nice, classy restaurant with some really great music playing in the background. So tell me a little bit more about Raise Your Hand and also Moving On, because I do like Moving On as well. It's quite powerful, and it's just the way your voice meanders over the notes as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so well, Raise Your Hand is actually the theme of that song is about domestic violence. So it's actually quite a serious topic, you know, that is prevalent in society today. And because I wrote this album during the lockdowns, in fact, I found out that there was an increase of domestic violence cases. So it kind of tied in with that, but also my own personal experience, because I've undergone that as a child in my family. And I know many people who've gone through it. I'll be chatting, for example, you know, I've had interviews with DJs, etc., and hosts, and you know, or just generally, you know, in the public, just speaking to people, and you'd be very surprised how many people would like admit that they've gone through the same predicament. And it comes up, and then, you know, so I just thought, you know, I'm going to write a song about this. It's obviously an important topic, as serious as it is. You know, there are some happy tracks on there too, but
there are, yes.
Nice. But I like to, because I'm into self-development, I always think that in order to, you know, really grow as an individual, you've got to get into all the icky bits, you know, of the self and of others. So, you know, and if you don't go into that and you don't heal, it can, you know, manifest as something else not particularly healthy later down the line. So yeah, I wanted to write this song. I also wrote it for my mother as well, who had gone through domestic violence, because we all did as a family. Yeah, it's also about, because it's a double entendre on Raise Your Hand. It's raise your hand because obviously in domestic violence, that's the action that is taken when you're being violent to someone, but also raising your hand to say, I admit I've gone through this as well. Okay. So there's two meanings to it.
Excellent. And what about Moving On, Vanessa? What's the background to that track?
Yeah, so Moving On is the very first track that I wrote, or very first soul track that I wrote, which I initially wrote alone, but then got Anders Olinda, who's my keys player, on it to do the keys, who's absolutely wonderful. And that was about, because I had moved to Bristol I moved in 2015 to 16, like towards the end of 2015. But I didn't actually start writing this track until I think it was end of 2018. And I noticed that my life had massively changed when I moved to Bristol. It's like I was starting again, like as if I'd been reborn, because Bristol's a very creative city for those who've been there. Bristol, UK, that is, because there's also one in the US. And yeah, it just unleashed more creativity, and I felt like I really changed as an individual, and I moved on to a new stage of life. So that's why I call the track Moving On.
You know, just listening to you, it really sort of keeps defining this whole thing of the importance of, I mean, each to their own, but the importance of the messages that we take to our music, or that we create, that we sing about, the vibrations of the music, the harmonies. It all adds to the vibration of where we're at within our lives. And, you know, music is healing, music is cathartic, music is joyful, music touches those moments of sadness that sometimes we can't even reach ourselves. And just listening to you, you know, what kept on going through my mind is the impact and the influence that music has in our lives.
For sure.
Because what you've just shared is about raise your hand. You're talking about a personal situation, but something that a lot of people go through. And yet sometimes when you're just dancing to things, you don't actually realize I'm listening to somebody's story.
Yeah.
You know,
totally. Yeah.
And then you start to listen a bit more to the lyrics. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And as I said, with the tracks that I've created, they are pretty deep. Even Keep Your Spirits High, which was actually written with Tom Brown and Anders Olinda as well. So for those who know Tom Brown, Funking for Jamaica, Tom Brown, yeah, which I was so happy, because I've absolutely loved that song for years, So it was like, I was elated when he agreed to do it, because I'm not sure if he's even worked with any other UK female artists before. Nice. So I felt very honoured to do this track with him, and he was brilliant to work with. It's so easygoing, but also just it flowed very easily. The track was created quite quickly, actually, because when I sent my part to him, he just added his bits, and I thought this really fits in. So Anders, Tom and I, we just worked really well together. It just flowed. There was none of this kind of oh, we need to really improve this area. It just kind of flowed really quickly. And we all brought our own emotional experience. I can tell Tom, playing the trumpet on there and the flugelhorn, you could feel the vibe that he was bringing about empowerment, because the song is about empowerment on all levels. And, you can interpret the song how you want, really. It is about, lifting your spirits, but also finding some inner strength to get through whichever situation you are in within your life. So yeah, there's deep and meaningful messages, but also even those who are not really into that, they can still enjoy it. They can take it at the level that is right for them as well. So yeah, it works for everybody, really.
Excellent. And now I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about something you were involved in last year. Step to the left. To the right.
Yes. Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit more about that experience. I know I'm being a bit coy about it, but I want you to think of this. I want people to really see the levels of your creativity, and in that place, the expansiveness of it. So just share about that experience, because yeah, like I said, and this is a tip, this is a hint, ladies and gents. So if you haven't got it by now,
yeah, so last year, I think it was around June, July time, messages kept popping up on my social media about this pageant for African women. So my parents are from Mauritius, so we have African origins, and it just kept popping up everywhere, and I was like, what is going on here? So I thought, you know what, take a look at it, just read through. And it was all about entering a pageant, but not your traditional pageant. It was for more mature women, so 30 plus, and also for women who wanted to show the world how empowered they were and what they could bring to other people's lives to help them become empowered. And I thought that message is a beautiful message. And I just thought, okay, why not apply? Because after reading the criteria, I ticked all the boxes. So I thought, well, why not? Didn't think I'd get through, though. Just because
she did.
Yeah, just because when I see the word pageantry, I kind of almost look at it and think, this is not my cup of tea. Because it's usually just focusing on aesthetics, really. I mean, today it is a little bit different. You've got to have a bit more character when you enter pageants. But I like the fact that it was for mature women as well, because mature women often get overlooked when it comes to things like beauty and empowerment. So I thought, okay, I'll enter it. And then I got through. I had a Zoom call, an interview with the founder, who's called Yanela. And yeah, we had to do certain tasks, like write reports. So it wasn't just about the beauty aspect. It was about, how you can demonstrate how empowered you are as a woman, and also your intelligence. What can you bring to the table in terms of influencing other people? So women and young girls, for example, in this case. And it's not just focusing on aesthetics. It's about, what do you do for your community? How do you care? So this is when I decided to reach out to SARSAS, which is the charity that I'm raising money for. They're a local charity and I'm based in Bristol. So it's several elements that you had to fulfill. And then you had the grand finale, which was very much like you're saying, you know, post the left, post the right.
Just had this huge smile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and but it wasn't just about walking down a catwalk.
No.
You had like 3 stages. You had to do like an African dance, and we were given some African like headgear and earrings that we had to wear, all of us. But it was also about working as a team. So all the women, like there were 11 of us that got through in the end, and we really bonded. It was absolutely amazing. I've never bonded so well to a bunch of people I haven't actually physically met, because we did everything via Zoom. So there was a sisterhood that was formed through the whole pageantry. And the 3 stages were the African wear, and then dancing for your ancestors. So I danced because being from Mauritius originally, we danced this dance called Sega. So it's like a folklore dance. And when I got on stage, I didn't have any choreography or anything. I just got there and I just felt really connected to my ancestors and just went for it, and got a big round of applause at the end, because I felt that people really tapped into the energy of what I was bringing to them. It wasn't just about, you know, showing how you can dance. It's about
presence of.
Exactly, yeah. And then the final one was where you wore a gown, and that was probably more in line with traditional pageantry. And that was quite interesting, because the song they played was Killing Me Softly by the Fugees, which is a hip hop track, and I had to somehow like maneuver to it, and in a long dress and a ball gown. I was like, what do I do? And I just thought, you know what, this is all about being authentic. So I just let loose, and I was dancing hip hop moves and just down the catwalk. And I thought, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. And, you know, some people might think, what's going on here? But yeah, I just thought, what the heck? Why not? And it was really well received. And then I won the Miss Charity Award at the end. So yeah, it was a really great experience. Yeah.
And that's what, you know, just listening to you as well, you know, it feels like you're in the space now where you are just stepping into those moments and seeing how you land on the other side. And sometimes you might like it, sometimes you might not like it, but at least you can say, I've taken a chance, I've tried this. And that's what makes life so much more that's what makes life so much more interesting.
For sure. I think life's too short to not try things. And yeah, there can be a lot of fear. It's not like I'm not fearful about doing these things. You know, you can be very anxious before events, etc. But it's just doing it anyway, and just trying to find resources, because I do life coaching. That's my day job. I have quite a lot of resources that can help me to manage, you know, all these overflow of emotions. But it doesn't mean I'm not fearful, or I don't feel anxiety before going on stage or anything. It's like, but it's just doing it. And then afterwards, you do feel a lot better, because you've accomplished something that is for you, and you can never take away that moment.
Absolutely.
Either. So it's valuable, like for rest of your life. So it's, yeah, I think I always say it to everyone, just at least try. And if it's really not for you, and you could always, exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting, because there's a saying that the graveyard is a very rich place, because it's full of people's dreams. And so what you said is just try it. And if it's just once, at least you've tried it once. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, say you've done it, rather than not. And so, my dear, where to next with your music? What's coming up? Are you performing anywhere? Got anything new coming out? Or maybe you're just gonna go and bake. I'm interested in that cake. You know, it sounds really nice.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, I'm focusing on my album, actually. And because I want to raise as much money as possible for the charity, I'm just selling copies. I've got, like, this is it here, if you can see it, the album. So I have this on CD and digital. My website's www.vanessabright.co.uk. So it's very simple to remember. So all my work is on there. With regards to future projects, I have been approached by a couple of people that are well known in the soul world. I'm not going to disclose who they are as yet because it's not been finalized, but I will let everyone know. And they want to do some collaboration work with me. Nice. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm very much the sort of person that I don't want to rush anything. I feel like everything has its, divine or universal timing. So when it happens, it happens. I am planning on doing a event for the charity I'm raising money for, which will be a musical event locally within the Bristol area and potentially London if I can find a space there as well. So I'll let you know if that happens because you're London based. So, but that will be, me and some of the musicians like Anders Olinda, for example, who I work with, and my partner, he's a guitarist, so I'm going to get him involved with the projects. So, and I'm also writing new music too. So I'm planning to release an album within the next couple of years. So that will be my third one. So yeah, just all slowly at the right pace. Don't want to rush anything because for me, it's more about the quality rather than quantity in my case.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Absolutely. But Vanessa, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. And if there's anything else that you'd like to leave with the audience, what would that be, Vanessa?
Just to create more space, if that's possible. I know how busy everyone is. I know that so many people out there have got a lot to juggle, and it's been a tough time, especially post-COVID. But even if you can have 5 minutes, you can even put 5 minutes of your time, even if you're at work, go to the bathroom and spend 5 minutes there, just to reflect on what you're doing in your life, because just that space can really change things for you for the better. When you can really see the bigger picture of what you're doing, when you don't have that space and you're just on autopilot and you're kind of sometimes working in a loop, and it may not be for your highest good or beneficial to oneself. So I think just trying to create a bit more space in your life, that's what I would say to everyone. Everyone's running around like headless chickens at the moment from what I can see. So in my coaching, I actually allow space for people as well. And it really makes a huge difference. So yeah, that's my key message to everyone.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Well, Vanessa, wishing you all the best with all your different projects. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to post details of her website. You can just go there. Everything's on there. And just keep moving forward, lady, which you're going to be doing anyway.
Thank you so much, Esther. And I wish you all the best with your projects too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Living this insane life makes you wonder sometimes, how can we thrive? We gotta do what we always do to keep our spirits high.
Ladies and gentlemen, special announcement of the summer issue of Turning Point, Your Lifestyle, Your Wellbeing magazine, to be launched at Soltasia, one of the biggest music events of the year this June. We also have front cover exclusive with Carolyn Griffey and Carrie Lucas and their dynamic team of women who talk about Dick Griffey's legacy and solo records. We also have other incredible features, art, fashion, humour, business and much more, so watch this space.
Hey, this is Lenny Williams, and when I'm in London, I visit On the Sofa with Esther.
by Esther Austin on the show today are sponsored by Run It First.